Hey guys, welcome to the Backchannel. In this episode, I want to talk about the idea of lead investors and co-leads. So what are the differences? What are the things to look out for? I've had a few founders asking me about the idea of co-leads. I guess the best place to start is really to make sure that we understand the idea of what a lead investor is. This can sometimes be confusing because there really isn't a legal definition of what it means to be a lead investor. In my opinion, there are a few things, major things that make an investor the lead investor. We say lead investor because that investor takes the lead on many things associated with managing the investment, managing the fundraise, managing that round. The first biggest one is that the lead investor is the investor that normally negotiates the terms of the round. They have the hard conversations, they set the valuation, they set the terms that are important, what goes into the option pool, et cetera, et cetera. So the lead investor will take that responsibility. Second thing, and although not always the case, the lead investor is generally the biggest check size in the round. They are more often than not more than 50% of the round, but not always. But there are very few cases where the lead investor is not the biggest check in the round. So those are the first two things. And then the third thing, the lead investor, when there is a board, a lead investor will usually take the board seat for that round of investment. And the lead investor is looked at as the person or the investing firm that has the closest relationship to the founder and the company. And during the course of the company operations after the round close, will be leaned on by other investors, board members, et cetera, to be the sort of outside party that has the closest, most impactful relationship with the company. So that's what the lead investor is. Comes with a lot of responsibilities and expectations. So what is a co-lead? Well, that also doesn't have a formal definition, but generally it's this superficial term that allows two larger parties to take a leadership role in the formation of the round, in the management and support of the company. And overall, I don't think it's a great thing. Most of this post is meant to be a discussion of what the red flags about the idea of co-leads are. The first thing is that a lot of times you'll hear this phrase that investors tell you, not sure about leading, but if you find someone else, we'd be happy to co-lead. Like many of you, my last venture-backed startup was a SaaS business. In that company early on, we had the opportunity to sell into a large enterprise, but ran into some walls when they asked us if we were SOC 2 certified. Not only were we not certified, we also found out that it would take our small team a ton of time to get that done, and so we ended up abandoning the deal. If you haven't run into a situation like that where a potential customer or investor is asking if you're SOC 2, HIPAA, GDPR, or ISO 27001 certified, you probably will soon. But unlike me, you could use a company called Vanta to help. Vanta helps automate up to 90% of the compliance work, getting you audit ready in weeks rather than months, and eliminating up to 85% of the costs. Not only that, but Vanta can start small with you and scale up as you grow, helping you land bigger deals and earn customer trust. The best part is, Vanta is offering funded listeners $1,000 off for going to vanta.com/funded. That's vanta.com/funded for $1,000 off your service. Check it out. This is one of the biggest red flags that I see in using the term co-lead. To me, that's a way for an investor to skirt the responsibility of doing a lot of hard things. And it's also a way of passing unless you get someone good to be interested in leading, in which case, if they're also interested, then, well, maybe we'll also be interested too, and we want to jump back in and then co-lead. It's just kind of a lazy, almost spineless way of not committing to a founder and an investment round while still kind of hanging around the hoop. And I don't love seeing it done that way. I don't love seeing investing firms try to get the accolades and the positivity about being a lead without being the full lead, without taking the responsibility, without taking the biggest risk and showing the biggest amount of commitment at the outset. The other thing is sometimes co-leads will come together in a more constructive way. It is two firms that equally want to do the deal. They want to lead, and they hear that the other firm is actually also interested, in which case they can collaborate and say, hey, maybe we can split the largest check size here, each do it, each have a way of supporting the company. Now, there are some positives to that. You get the networks of two bigger firms and the support in your company, but there are some big downsides to that too. If there were two firms that were both competing to do the deal, then when they join forces, they remove the competition from each other and they get to collaborate around the terms that they feel most comfortable with and put themselves on the same team against the founder and the company. Not so great. Also, there is this idea that with co-leads, they are splitting the amount of ownership that they have in the company when they could have had the full large check in there. Why does that matter? Well, later down the road, having a smaller ownership means that they kind of care less about their position. It means less about their overall fund economics. And in that case, if something's going wrong in the company, they have less of an incentive to step up to defend their position because their position is actually smaller. And so those are some of the things that I want you guys to be aware of when it comes to the idea of a lead investor and the idea of co-leads. There are some cases where it will make sense, but more often than not, I want you guys to be wary of the idea of co-leads. Awesome. Well, I hope that was an informative, educational, helpful episode of the Back Channel. We'll see you next time.